time, we are going to get started talking about our second core value, which is vision. So once again, we talked with Lady A, just starting to gather everything we can within ourselves on what it is that we're passionate about, so that hopefully we start to think of it, okay, what kind of area, industry, route would I might want to go for my career, right? So now moving forward with that, it's time to take everything that we just gathered and start putting together some goals, some vision in mind. And with that, we're going to have one of my favorite visionaries with me, right? My sister, Joy Suttle. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. So my name is Joy Suttle, founder of Joiful Noise. And Joiful Noise is a nonprofit that allows people to, everyday people, not even just artists, people who want to, step into the media or performing arts industry, but everyday people to use creative expression to heal and find self-discovery. So just a couple things about how I got here and, my path. I started with a communication major. So that's where I went to. I went to Rutgers, New Brunswick, and I got my communications. And I was really passionate. Before I wanted to do like psychology or sociology, I was really passionate about helping people and allowing people to just really work things out mentally, emotionally, internally. I did that. My undergrad was not the smoothest journey. A lot of times I found myself like going in and out of this passion of saying, well, I can help people without this degree, I can do this. But I did, God got me through it. So after that, I then found myself really saying I've always been passionate about dance, music. That's something that we've always been doing ever since, me and my cousin, my sister, been younger. We just always been big on music, big on dance. So that's something that I wanted to continue with. So I went to Temple University right now, actually, this is my first year to get my MFA in dance. So in the journey for this time is a lot more smoother because I'm a lot more passionate about it. Like I said, that's something that I just can't fight. I'm gonna dance regardless. I'm gonna do music. So once again, yes, I'm using my arts to help people. One, when I dance and I use my music, share my work, poetry, it is to help people heal and just feel better about themselves, really go through that process. But once again, it is also to help people find their voice, self-discover, and let their voice be heard. That is the motto. With peace, love, and joy, it's to let people let their voice be heard. So, yeah. Oh, I guess while we're waiting. Go ahead. Okay. And another part that once as I just hired my communications major, is just more so to help people find everyday interactions, running more smoothly with it, have better better family dynamics, go into the world, have better networking as they go out. So just better communication all over. I'm really for a healthy relationship. So how we speak to people, how we interact, how we can treat people better, really, honestly. So.
And so, starting off, what we're going to get into, right, talked about vision. So I want to just get first a clearer definition of what is vision, right? Sometimes we think that vision is just what we see, it's here. That is actually sight. So I got this quote from Radical Candor, which is a book about becoming a more effective communicator in your leadership, and how to use radical candor to be impactful and effective when working as a leader and communicating with a group or your team. It's by Kim Scott, if it sounds like something you guys are interested in. And this quote here says, I'm going to read it from my phone, actually, it's a little better. So, a story about Christopher Wren, the architect responsible for rebuilding the St. Paul's Cathedral after the Great Fire of London, explains what I mean by vision versus sight. So when Wren was walking the length of the partially rebuilt cathedral, when he asked 3 bricklayers what they were doing. The first bricklayer responded, I'm working. The second said, I'm building a wall. And the third paused, looked up, and then said, I'm building a cathedral to the Almighty. Okay, so I really love this quote because I think it's a perfect example of what you see, your sight versus vision, right? So looking ahead, looking past everything that might just be seen right in front of you today. So you can see that the first two bricklayers were using their site, right? First one's like, I'm working. They paid me to be here. They told me we gotta rebuild the cathedral. That's what I'm doing. I'm here, I'm working. The second one also saying, well, I'm building a wall. He sees actually what's happening in that present time, actually what's being done in that moment. But the third one looks up and he sees something greater in the work that he's doing, right? It's not just about the site. It's not just about what he's working. He's being paid to be there. The wall got burned down. He's rebuilding it. No, for him, he's like, I'm building a cathedral to the Almighty. He has one, probably a passion, just in the name itself, to saying the Almighty means that more than likely he's got a personal relationship. There's some passion there behind it, something that he feels love for, right? Or someone he feels love for. More importantly, he sees the end result. So even comparing from the second bricklayer who said, I'm building a wall, to the third one who said, I'm building a cathedral. The cathedral is burnt down, but he understands the end goal. He understands the result, what's gonna come out of this. A cathedral to the Almighty, okay? So in these activities that we're gonna be talking about today, as we move forward in this session of the workshop, we want you guys to be using your vision and not your sight. Which means we're gonna look past everything that we have now, the things that we're doing right now, and we're going to be looking ahead to where it is that we want to be, right? What it is that we want to do in life, etc. Next slide, please. Oh, and go ahead.
I did just want to say, when the difference between how I just really view vision and sight. My sight right now is with my eyes open, what I can see. I can see everyone here. I can see, you know, the everyday steps that I'm taking. I can see myself going to school every day. But when I close my eyes, that's my vision. When I'm not using this, you know, what's right in front of me, because that's when you really start seeing like, okay, you know, your imagination, you know, when you start visioning things, that's really what the vision is, where, you know, where you're going to take yourself even further. You know, a lot of the things that is a part of your vision, you won't be able to see right then and there. So I think that's just a really big part in the difference of it. Once you close your eyes, you really start to see that vision where you really, you know, things once again that you're imagining, but it's realistic. And even beyond that, you can take yourself even more further than what you're seeing, because even that you're using your sight that you know, your everyday.
I like that. I like how she put that. And I think that is even big in thinking about DreamClouds, who we are and that we're dream, right? And it's so, I always say, like, a lot of times these dreams that we have, they speak to us. And she just made a good point. It's a vision. It's what we see with our eyes closed. Sight is with our eyes open. Vision is with our eyes closed. So something that we can understand, you know, is possible. That we see it for ourselves. It might not be seen out right now, but we've seen it in our mind, which means that it can play out in reality. And that's our goal, taking our vision and making it a reality. Next slide, please. So the first activity that we're going to be going through, so once again, we're back into our workbook here. Right after our, I believe it's after the flow states page, you have your perfect day. And we're going to have Joy walk us through this activity.
Okay, yes. So the perfect day, once again, if you go ahead and open the agenda, you're going to see on top your perfect day if you use your sight. All right. So this exercise will help you imagine what your ideal day would look like in the life you love. Don't use your sight, meaning don't answer these questions based off of what you're doing at this point, what you know, what you're constantly are at this point recently doing and what it consists of. But use your vision. Answer the questions based on what you want your life to consist of and how you see your brightest future. So we're really looking ahead and really creating our everyday perfect day with our vision. Okay. So what time do you wake up? That's our first question. You know, do you see yourself now? Like I said, use your vision. We're not going to talk about now because I know me, I'm a little late bird. I need to get up a little earlier. But do you see yourself getting up, you know, 5 in the morning, meditating, praying? You know, some people say that's the best time to get up. I don't know. But do you see yourself getting up around 7? You know, do you see yourself getting up around 10? Or you might want to get up a little earlier. But what time do you
might not? Because might be like your career might be best at night. You might realize that you're coming in late. And so with that being said, you might need to wake up at 10, 11 o'clock because your night honestly ended at 2 or 3 in the morning.
Right.
Preference.
Perception. Exactly. what you're doing.
Right.
What is your morning routine like? Do you see yourself getting up once again? You start your day with meditating or praying? Do you see yourself making your cup of coffee? You know, what do you see yourself? Do you work out when you wake up? What is your morning routine like? What do you see yourself saying? You know what, this really gets my day started. This is how I want to go ahead and get my day so that I'm taking over.
And I do also want to add, some of us may have our ideal morning routine in place, right? And so for us, we might be already waking up at the time we'd like to every day, the rest of our lives. We might be already going through a little bit of the hassle of saying, well, I wake up and I meditate, I pray while working out, and then I have breakfast and I get my day going. So some of us might have that in place, and if it feels good for you now, then by all means, continue to write that down and keep it in place. And if there's part of you that may be like Joy, where it's like, waking up early because I gotta get to school in the morning, but that's not really what I want to do, then this is where you write it down and say, this is actually what I prefer.
Okay, next question, when do you start work? Right, so once again, this is based on, you might want to think about when your business or when your work is the best time for you. One of my friends, they want to open a nightclub, so they're not gonna be starting work at 9 a.m. It just doesn't make sense, you know? Or maybe they will, but they might be doing paperwork. So when should you start work, you know? Once again, we're just gonna breeze through these, not take too long. First instinct we're gonna go with. What do you do for work? So once again, is that paperwork? Is that talking to people every day? Is that having meetings? Are you cooking? Are you baking? Are you an event planner? There's so many things because we're all individuals on our own different path. So what you do for work is not gonna be what the next person next to you is doing for work. But what do you do for work that's gonna help you get to where you need to be? Or that you're already where you need to be, but you're continuing and maintaining. What do you do after work? I'm big on this, just especially because mental health, you know, making sure that you're having some sense of peace, relaxation. So after work, what do you want to do? Is it time to decompress? Is it time to hang out with your family, which is also an important aspect in life? You know, is it time to listen to music? Do you take baths at night to just relax? Whatever you do you like to read? What do you do after work? Once again, individual, so whatever works best for you, whatever's gonna get you back in the mindset so that you can start the next day on a fresh start. Do you spend time on hobbies or interests? If so, what hobbies and interests? So when you have some free time, you know, something that's not, oh, I have to get this, you know, we have to have from work, apart from work as well, a hobby and interests, you know, can you do that just, you know, helps you enjoy life and realize I can just relax and do this. It doesn't have to, I don't have to look for the results. I don't even have to finish it today if I don't want to. I can just enjoy. And I think we definitely need that, especially with the society where we're so busy on working and, you know, being productive and results. We need that time where we just say, this is just something I enjoy.
And I want to add to that because see how the question is asked, do you spend time? And I think that because it's, well, no, that's fine, because I agree. As a part of mental health, yes, you want to make sure you make time for your hobbies and interests. But this is the perfect day. This is kind of how you're hoping your everyday goes. And so for some people, every day they're gonna dedicate time to, maybe it's reading, or maybe it's baking because it's therapeutic, or making music, or playing chess, or whatever the case may be. Right? Some people are gonna say every day I want to dedicate about an hour where I can just decompress doing this activity within my hobbies or interests. Some people may just, you know, find like, hey, once a week, every other week, and that's fine because mental health does matter. Some of us work so hard, they may be like, I don't spend every day doing a hobby or interest because I want to rest. You know, after I get home from work, my biggest thing, everybody loves sleep like I do. You gonna say, you know what, I might not want to do this today because I prefer to rest, and you prioritize that, and that's okay. So just thinking about that, you know, a lot of us might want to say yes, but a hobby or interest might not be on our schedule for every day. Of course, agreeing with Joy though, find time for it, but also, you know, realize what is it? This is your perfect day. Ideally, what do you see yourself doing when you get home from work?
Okay, next question. What does your family and friend time look like? How are you guys? Just chilling, hanging out. Me personally, I love family Sunday dinner. So, you know, as I see myself in my perfect days, as I go throughout my perfect weeks, perfect month, perfect years, you know, I'm gonna work, but on Sundays, I wanna take that time and say, you know what, but this is what we do. Or even as I continue to build my own family, coming home after a long day of work and saying, okay, but I want my family to sit together at a dinner table. So once again, what does your family and friend time look like? Because it might just be going out having some fun, might be eating, might just be talking, watching a movie.
Some of us, it's ideal in our everyday to travel, so the family time might not be the everyday, our time might not be the everyday. Once again, everything that's listed here, you definitely want to find time to do it at some point, but realizing that if this is your ideal every day, how to move about it, you know, might not always spend time with family and friends, okay?
Okay, after your long work day, you just put in all that work, that time, you was grinding all day, you got up early, maybe you got up late, depending on your work schedule. How do you wind down for bed? What is what is it, initiation or that key to say, you know what? That's my time to relax, that's my time, no more, we don't do work after this time, whatever the key. You know, once again, the switch is off, the work shift to relaxing. So how do you wind down for bed? If you're like me, it doesn't really take too much. I'm just gonna sit down and I'm winding down for bed. Last question is, what time do you go to bed? Once again, this is your perfect day, your perfect ideal time. When do you go to bed? Because I know sometimes we might, you know, sacrifice some sleep and we might have to continue to do that. But on the perfect ideal day, when do you go to bed? And that's something to think about because honestly, I don't know. Look, when my work is done, I'll be that's something to think about.
Right, that's why I'm like, we're all different. I noticed naturally, like, I remember living, I'll say, you know, 1, 2, and 3, with my sister and my cousin, we all had our own, and everybody's different. So for me, I set a curfew. I had a bedtime, because I don't care if I'm young, I got stuff to do the next day. And if it's ideal for me to wake up early in the morning, then it's also ideal that I go to sleep early at night, right? For them, like I see naturally sometimes, like, I'm going to sleep early tonight, and she's still up in the morning, and she can't do it naturally. And sometimes it's like it's okay because you know what? For some of us, we're night owls. I mean, there's a season, right? Everything's also about season sometimes. So it's about our perfect day. But there's been seasons in my life where I noticed my greatest work time was late at night when the whole house was sleeping. Everybody shut down and I'm just 2 in the morning typing away. And there have been other times where I just decide, okay, if I wake up really early in the morning. So that also changes, you know, what time I'm going to bed. As mentioned before, some of us might have careers that are best for night. You want to own a nightclub. And you realize you're not going to sleep until after 3 o'clock in the morning. Because you're still at work in the nightclub, right? Until 2 o'clock in the morning. And you honestly didn't wake up until 12 in the afternoon. So just thinking about those things, jot it all down, right? And that was the last question that we have here. And so you can go ahead and give your comments on it. I was just gonna say as well, with this perfect day, you know, once again, this activity, as she mentioned, is supposed to be helping you give an exercise to use your vision over your sight, right? So looking ahead to not what you're doing now, but saying, okay, ideally, what is it that I'd like my day to move in? So that you can start saying, okay, one, this might start to help you identify what kind of career you're going in. As we did in the first session of love, we already started saying, okay, here's what I'm passionate about, here's my interest, here's my personal mission statement, this is what I know I want to do with my career, and now here's how I can start setting things in place to make that happen, right? Start actually putting it to practice your perfect day. I think the best way to start was when you're talking about that, manifesting it, putting it into action, right? So the best thing to do is say, okay, if this is what my perfect day is, I'm gonna try my best to actually apply what I just said. So maybe right now, we're not waking up at 5 in the morning, but ideally that's our goal. Then you're gonna say, well, I'm gonna start setting my alarm now. Maybe I'm not in the career that I would like to be, but I'm actually gonna start putting in so that when I do get to that point of my life, it's already like, I'm used to getting up, I'm used to doing my work. Right now, it's like, okay, what's your morning routine? Might be working out, meditating, whatever. Start thinking about putting it into your schedule now so that as you're moving forward to that career, as you're pursuing the goals that you have in mind, you are already putting yourself in place, right? It's all about preparation as well. So how we can prepare to actually get to the perfect day that we have in mind, right?
And just to really piggyback off of that, sometimes it's not about just like waiting till we get in that position to actually start putting things in place, but those things that we do to prepare and to get ourselves ready are how we're going to maintain later as time goes.
Right.
So really taking that time and say, you know what, I might not work at this point, but I know that when I get a job, I want to get up early. I want to go ahead and head out here. I want to get out this time. So I'm going to start setting myself up so that I can go to sleep earlier and I can get up at this time. Because right now, the time that I wake up is just too late, and I know I can't do that as time goes. Or maybe, you know what, as me as a dancer, at one point I wasn't dancing every day. So I'm like, you know what? I know I'm gonna need some type of energy. I know I'm gonna need some type of stamina to keep going. So what did I do? I woke up every morning and I started working out. So all these different things. And one thing that I'm just really big on that just keeps popping in my head is perception is projection. That like what you perceive and how you perceive the situation or where you're at right now is how you're going to go ahead and attack or take on it. So if you're perceiving that you're going to start doing some of these things differently, you're going to prepare mentally differently. You're going to go ahead and take it on completely different as opposed to, saying, you know what, well, when it comes, and I'm just going to handle it when it gets there, because your mindset is also in there and you're going to do exactly what you perceive. It's like, I take that really when I see that, once again, sorry, perception and projection, I think of sports, and especially like with track. When people are going over those hurdles, their perception is saying, you know what, I know I got to get that far. I know I got to get that high, or I know I got to take that many hurdles. So I'm mentally preparing. If it's a little one, I might not have to put that much energy in. But if it's something, a high hurdle like that, on back to back to back, then I know I'm going to have to put all my energy so that I can make it just that much far. So perception is projection.
Okay, so hopefully you guys have this written down, something that once again, you go home, you take your workbook and you look at your answers and start thinking, how can I apply this in my life now? And working on these, right? And so the next activity that we're gonna do, and this one, a little quicker, a lot simpler, personal, so continue to, write your answers on the sheet of paper, because what we do with our winning lottery ticket is not all the same, and sometimes it's not anyone's business, right? So we don't always have to share what we decided we did with our finances, right? So just keep that in mind, that it is absolutely up to you. There's no judgment. That's why I write it down, because it's 100% on you and what you like to do. And what this activity is going to do for us is hopefully start to begin to prioritize our goals and start seeing what it is that we're going to start working on, hopefully immediately. So the first question is, what would you do if you won $5 million? So you just got your lottery ticket. They gave out those numbers. You realize, oh my gosh, I won 5 million. What are the first couple of things that you're going to be doing with your money? Once again, just like every activity we've been going through, highly encourage you guys to mainly jot down what first comes to mind, right? Think about it, but usually what's in the heart is what first comes to mind, and those are the things that we kind of want to focus on.
And you might even need to ask yourself, what am I not going to do?
Notice that this one, out of the rest of the questions that are coming up, will probably be a lot longer of a list, right? Maybe there's a high priority that you're like, I'm definitely doing this when I get $5 million, but $5 million is a lot of money. So after you got to your priorities and things that, you can also talk about the things you want to splurge on, right? We talked about sacrifices in the love session, talk about how you might have to let go of that nice car or the Gucci belt or whatever else you might want to get with your money. When you just want $5 million and you got your business set up, or you have a career, you want some splurging things, traveling, whatever, jot it all down as you think about it.
And I'm like pretty serious about making sure that you also reward yourself. If you're working hard, there has to be some point where you're saying, you know, and it can't be all the time. You can't just like, well, today I did this, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna, you know, it has to, but you should have like some type of system and say, you know what, I did a whole lot of work. Like I know like after long events that we're putting together, we sometimes say, but you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna get away. I'm gonna do this, you know, because that is my reward. And to say, you know, I can reset and then I can give that energy. I feel good about continuing to work.
And so now that we thought about what we're gonna do with $5 million, change your plans. You get there, you go to collect your money. Maybe you read it wrong, you didn't hear correctly, whatever the case may be. But you show up and you find out you didn't win $5 million. You actually won $1 million. Now we still have $1 million. That's some good money. If you don't have it now, you definitely thinking that's some good money, right? So once again, it crosses out some of the things you might have liked to do when you thought you were winning $5 million and you made your plan. So out of the things that you might have said, okay, when I win $5 million, I'm doing this. Now that you only have $1 million, what is it that you're gonna focus on? What are the things that you're gonna do with your 1 million? So it doesn't mean you got 1 million added to your 5 million again. That means you went from 5 million to 1 million. Might not be able to do as much, but still with 1 million, you do a lot. Right. So still kind of much. Seconds to think about it.
Once again, I think sometimes we do have to really take time and really think about these questions, especially if you're not used to, you know, receiving money like that or working with money like that, you know, especially in your own control of like, okay, I'm maintaining it, I'm trying to figure out what to do. You really do have to make a game plan and say, okay, hold on, before I just blow all this, or hold on, before I just think I can do all this and this and then think about it. You know, you're in a mindset of, once again, I got that money, so what am I gonna do? And not thinking in the mindset of how much money do I have now, right?
Yeah, these were easy ones for me.
I already planned it out.
They're like the same rules for everyone.
Yeah.
You know what, just getting smaller. For me too, I was wondering if anybody else, like each number, there's staples
Yes.
that remain. Like one of them is my trust funds for my grandkids. I don't care how much money I get, it has to remain
Yeah.
a staple, you
Yeah, I
know,
think any amount of money, the most important thing is invest in something.
invest in one.
And so whether you made $100 a week, whether you made $1,000 a week, whether you made 2,000 a week, you can put in some type of percentage.
Invested into those children.
Right, exactly. Yes, investment.
So I like that, and that is you guys.
Universal life policy, something.
Right.
Did it.
Something, but invest.
Yes, but you guys are on point. That is what we are, you know, what you're gonna start realizing towards the end. That as your list starts to dwindle, there are gonna be some things that you're like, no, but no matter what, however much money I get when I get my hands on it, this is what I'm gonna do, right? So now you found out you didn't win $1 million. Found out you won $500,000, which you're still very happy about. You're still like, okay, change my hands up a little bit, but I think I still know what I'm gonna do, right? So like Robert said, I already had in mind, like my answers is not changing. Maybe the numbers change, how much I'm gonna invest, right? Or whatever the case may be. So that's something that you can list as well. Maybe some of you getting very detailed in your responses and like, well, all right, then I cross out this number and I'll, for some of us, right? That's what for some of us, maybe you're listed and dwindled from 1 million to 500,000. Maybe now the change is I was gonna invest this much into it, this much into it. And you're like, well, everything I was gonna do with my $1 million is still what I wanna do.
Right.
I just might have to change it up a little bit, right? So maybe now you was like, oh, I was gonna get my portion, I was gonna be driving, and then the plans changed, and you're like, okay, we'll get a BMW. Right? Still nice.
Or put the down payment.
What happens is, what happens with this kind of stuff, because this happens in real true time, so. Like people inherit money, you know, people are left things. What happens when people do that, they're not thinking about what's coming down the road.
Right.
So you could go buy that Porsche, or you could go buy that $500,000 house, But what happens when that runs dry?
Right.
And you ain't do what you were supposed to with it, so that's what people don't realize.
Right.
That's all.
So
Right.
hopefully you guys are thinking like that, and hopefully, like, once again, cause I said it, what you guys do with your money, that's on y'all, right? This is why we don't even share it all the time out loud, cause it's up to us what we decide. But the goal would be, hopefully, that you're thinking to yourself, I'm gonna make this money, work for me in the end. Or even then, once again, the trust fund, that's something it's gonna work for you in the end. You might not see it right away or how that's gonna happen, but you realize like, okay, you know what? That's an investment that I realize that down the road is gonna set not even her up, but her grandkids up nicely. It's gonna change everything that needs to be done for them, right? So starting to think about that and say, okay, what is it that I wanna do with my money now? How do I want my money to work for me in the future? And so on, right? So 2 more changes. Now we realize it's not $500,000, but we actually won $100,000. So now, how does that change your plans? And what are the priorities on your list that you're like, I cannot let this go with the money that I make? I know this is gonna happen. I know plenty of people here, right, are parents, so those are probably like, no matter what, no, I'm gonna make sure my kids, my grandkids, they're set up. So I did have to let go of maybe even investment was like a property. And you're like, oh, but I really wanted to buy that building for my business, and I knew at 500,000 I was gonna put trust fund money in, and I was still gonna get my building, whatever the case may be. Now you're like, okay, 100,000. How can I make this work? Can I still get the property and put in trust funds, or do I focus on the trust funds right now and make the property a later goal, whatever the case may be? Something to think about, okay? And at this time, we're gonna give even a little bit less time, because at this point, the list is getting smaller. You can't do as much, so you probably don't need as much time to think about what it is that you want to do.
Not on this one, but it's smart. If you're like me, it doesn't matter if I have 5 million, 100,000, 100. I'm still trying to find ways that I can really. Yes, right, exactly. Just stretch, exactly. Like, oh, but you know what? I could still do this on my own, and my family will probably be like, but if you don't just buy this thing, I'm like, but we can actually build it.
Right.
Yeah, right. And look, that's just like I said. No matter how much, just staying in that mindset. Once again, preparing, for when you actually get into those positions, because that's exactly how you'll maintain it.
Right. So last question we have, what would you do if you won $50,000? Right? So let's focus now.
Not that much
Again,
money no more, huh?
not that much money anymore.
Just to break it down.
Still
same
break
way.
Nothing's
So
changed.
it's about
This number,
percentage? Is it by percentage you breaking it down?
Whatever my heart tells me to do.
Okay.
I might give 50,000 and it might say, all right, take 20 and put it in early savings for your children. Like I might do that. I might put 10.
Right.
Depends on how I feel. But something going in there.
Something.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right. And so as you guys are thinking about it, hopefully, like I said, not as much time, because you've already prioritized, like he knows. He's like, look, I know where my money's going. The only thing that's changing is how much. But I know that I know where I'm putting it, okay? Some of us were like, no, I still have to cross some things off my list. I gotta make it happen. But the goal of this activity is, right? So now we ended with 50,000. You could keep going with this, right? This is a good activity, maybe in your own. Once again, when you take this workbook, maybe you want to ask yourself next, okay, what am I gonna do if I win 25,000? And then what do I do if I won 10,000? The whole point though is that as you realize this list is $5 million going down, you're prioritizing your goals. Right? You're prioritizing what it is that you're setting in place. So realizing, okay, this is what I'm passionate about. This is what I want to do. This is how I'm going to get there. I want to say like $50,000, especially for many of us entrepreneurs, it's feasible, right? They get grant money like this. You can get your hands on $50,000. That's $10,000. That's $10,000. That's
I read something, $100 investment to UPS made that man, I think, $657 billion. $100 investment.
So the point is, no, exactly. You might not know how much money you're getting right now. Some of us are working a job, right? It could be a 9 to 5, whatever. And you looking like this is nothing, yeah. But how you use it to your advantage, right? So how are you gonna take what it is that you want in life, all the things that you can look for, expecting, etc., and break it down now. And this is what it's supposed to be doing, is helping you create a plan, right? Like I say, $10,000, that's something that if you're applying for grants, if you did win the lottery, however the case may be, maybe it's $1,000, $5,000, how are you gonna flip it and make it something that's gonna work for you in the end? All right, so understanding hugely, and hopefully once you got to the list, this says for you that, okay, now in this stage of my life, as I'm getting whatever the amount of funds is, like I said, maybe it's from working a job, maybe we will get that grant, right? Whatever the case may be, now, as Drake's saying, right? Already kind of being prepared for it, already knowing what's gonna be happening in place. Same thing with the perfect day. Already just setting yourself up so that when it happens, you're like, okay, boom. You have a plan, you know what it is you wanna do, and you move on it. So Master P Bobby had his vision in mind and was like, you know what though, if I just get some money, boom, he continued in music, he continued in the creative, right? So it was like, okay, now I got $10,000, mix a little bit of my passions together, what I like to do, and still maintain for my family, right? So we realized that that's something like, if you're a family person, that's always gonna be in your list, it's always gonna be in your goals. He set Romeo up, you know what I mean? He worked hard, he got it done for him, and he got it done for his children as well. So
Yeah, I'll share a small testimony with y'all about what you do with money. So a couple of years ago, I was in a car accident, and it was like a $25,000 lawsuit. It was something like that. Lawyers take 40%, that type of deal. That $10,000 went towards me buying my first house. So like that was one of the things where I was trying to tell. So like I had friends that came like, oh man, what you gonna do when you get the money? Nobody was like, hey, you should go take that and go put it on your house. Nobody said that. You know what I'm saying? But I always had a priority where I was like, all right, if I run into any kind of money, I'm doing X, Y, and Z. So like, I got friends that I walk into their closet and the Jordans everywhere. And I say, man, show me your brokerage account. And they're like, what's that? Exactly. So take 5 pairs of these Jordans, sell them, go get this, and then when that make you the money, then go buy the Jordan. So I always had that kind of mindset. Man.
No, that's it. It goes to the point, like you said, it was already in his plan before it got there. He already knew, and this is where we go into vision, right? This is why we're talking about it here. You have the vision, like, I'm gonna be a property owner. I'm gonna own my home. I'm gonna make sure that's an investment, that's worth it. I know that's something down the line that's gonna take me places where we like to be, etc. So as soon as you got your hands on the money, you knew this is what I want to do with it, right? Sometimes a lot of us we splurge and spend like that because we didn't really think about the plan, right? We didn't, or for some of us, the only thing they had in their vision at the time was being flying flash. And it was like, so when I get the money, I'm gonna make it happen. And that's each everyone's own. It's back to, as we're talking about vision, what is in your vision and thinking about it now so that when you say, when I get my hands on it, when I make this happen, I know exactly what it is I'm gonna be doing already. Right? Yeah.
I was gonna say, funny enough, that reminded me, it's like almost tax season, and every year I'll be like, where did all that money go? From those taxes that I got. So just this year, trying to be really intentional about where my money's going and making sure I'm paying myself first by not only investing in myself, but investing in things when it comes to like my career, developing whatever skill set I need to make money and things like that.
No, that's a really good point. I like that because that's something we can all relate to, right? We might not all be winning the lottery or winning the grant and how we might like
taxes,
but taxes we do. And more than, if I can look up stats, I already know it's probably the majority who are not taking the tax refunds and investing in somewhere. So honestly, you hear the conversations about it all day before. They're like, I can't wait till I get it. I'm gonna go get me this. I can't do it now, but when I get my refund check, I'm gonna go on vacation. I'm planning it. And you know what? It's like, okay, now's the time to think. So it's a good time to think about this stuff already, so that as we're approaching tax season now, and we're saying, okay, we're gonna get into this. You already start to say, maybe ask yourself, continue to go down this list and be like, okay, now what about 5,000? What about 2,500? Okay, what am I gonna do if I get 1,000? What am I gonna do with that money? So I don't just let it go to waste and I make sure I'm making it work for me. And then you think about that. By the time you get your tax return money, you're like, okay, I already have my plan. I already know exactly what it is I want to do. And I want to even encourage you guys as you're waiting for the money to really put in the research, jot it down, put the steps out there so that when it comes in your hand, you use your time efficiently to make those goals happen. All right.
Just about vision. The thing about it is, once again, it's not sight, it's not something that, you know, you can open your eyes and be like, okay, this is what it is. Vision is the in the future or the near future, you know? But the thing about that is other people might not see it like that. So you really have to be, you know, really tuned into yourself and say, you know what am I gonna do, and really stick to it? Because even with people who have a big vision for themselves, it's not gonna be the same as yours. So how you move and what you do is not gonna be exactly the same. So remember to stick to your vision and say, but how do I get there? And whatever system you use to figure that out and set a plan, stick to that. Because there is gonna be people who are, you know, there are going to be people who are saying, that doesn't make sense, or you might as well go ahead and do this, or how about you do this? And there's gonna be friends that say, well, you might as well go have fun or take a vacation or go get those sneakers. But because you see your vision, you know how to move smarter and say, but this is what I need to do to get to where I need to be.
Yeah, I do. And listening to all this, we talked earlier about the sacrifices, but I do say, we all understand tomorrow's not promised. And I'm a big believer in, even as you're investing in your future, invest in your now. So, you know, you had the 500,000, so you planned on touring the whole world and you was gonna take a 3-month vacation. You only got 10,000 now. You can't do that. But I still believe if it's a desire of your heart, so maybe now you can only go to Atlantic City for 2 days, but instill that into yourself, because it makes it worth it that as you're going your journey. If you get there and you're tired and you're angry and you're bitter and you're frustrated and you're unhappy, the journey wasn't worth it. But if you're sowing and taking parts of yourself, so you have, I was gonna get a lobster dinner, I can't get a lobster dinner, but me and the girls go, and maybe we'll go get shrimps instead. Shrimps. Shrimp. There you go, get shrimp instead of something small. But I say treat yourself here as well as reaching for there, because you don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow. So now don't spend it all today, because there is a tomorrow for most of us, and tomorrow comes and you won't have anything. But in the same token, take time every single day, or from, you know, I heard one person say, when you cut that check up or that money up, give a portion to, I'm not sure if you sow, but for me, sow it to this, where you're gonna give it to, and then make sure you pay this and that, and then sow a percentage for yourself. And that self part is not even for the future, it's for right now. So I can't buy the $500 pair of Jordans, but I can buy me a nice pair of sneakers, and maybe I'm only gonna spend $100, because I also wanna feel good about myself when I walk out of the house. I don't wanna feel like I'm losing all of this to maybe get somewhere, and realize that part of it is the journey. You know what I mean? Part of it is walking through. So, and also with the vision, the only other thing I wanna add is part of the vision is different between vision and sight. The sight is what you're looking at. Vision is gonna help you get past all the obstacles. You're gonna need that vision. It's going to help you get over all the hurdles in life, because it's the thing you're focused on. So you see the obstacles, that's your sight. You see the hurdles, and they are so very real. They're there. You can't get past it. They're very much there. So it's not to ignore them, but the vision is what's gonna carry you over each obstacle so that you don't give up.
Right. And I think, look, this isn't a budgeting class, we won't get too deep into it, but I really like that point, because I think about even just the last job that I worked in, pay cycles can be differently, but I was paid monthly. And so for some people, that's a real obstacle, because they do go like this with their money and it hasn't been planned out. But I wanted to add, because I just made sure that as I was budgeting for everything that had to be done within the month of that paycheck, I made sure that I was intentional about putting money aside for self-care. Like for me, it was like, no, but I need my nails done. And no, I want my hair done. Like that's not just something that's like, no, I need that. I should for self-care to make me go out and look good. And then back to the sacrifice, there are seasons where times I had to realize, right? My priority is, okay, vision, I want to be a full-time entrepreneur. So I'm taking this money now, I'm paying my bills, and I'm also putting some to the business so that I can continue to build that up. And then I'm saving this much because, you know what, I also know that I like to go out to eat at least twice a week with my friends or family. So I make sure I include that in there and I put that all down, right? And you jot it and you figure it out so that you realize in later time, all right, I now have managed. And then there's gonna be times where I can realize, okay, now I don't have that monthly paycheck because I'm not at that job. So as this activity does, what is it that's on my list that I continue to keep doing? Money I get continues to go to my business. It continues to pay bills, because we need to pay those bills, right? And it continues to build my business. I have to sacrifice the nails and the hair and the other things that I like to do on self-care for a time being. Because it was like, okay, you know what? I see the number getting smaller, but then you start to realize what it is. We're coming back to vision, where you want to be in the future, but also passion. what it is that I'm truly passionate about. I was investing in what I was the most passionate about, my business, myself. I mean, bills, I'm not passionate about it, but they have to be done, so get the necessities as well. But then also saying, okay, am I willing, like I said, love costs. Am I willing to sacrifice right now and say, I'm not gonna do this? That activity is only allowed to do. I went from 500,000 to 100,000. What am I willing to sacrifice in this time to make sure that I still achieve what it is that I have in mind, in my vision, right? So, moving forward on time, right? Because I know we're behind schedule. Can you go to the next slide, please? So we say all that to say, as we're getting into our vision, what we have in mind, this is really for goal setting, right? So as you went through the perfect day, you were already setting goals for yourself, right? It's my goal to wake up at this time in the morning. It's my goal to have this kind of job. It's my goal to make my morning routine like this. And even for the winning lottery ticket, I want $5 million. It's my goal to own a home and to have trust funds for my kids and to do all these things. And okay, maybe I've only won $100,000, but you know what? I'm still going to work on my goals. So all that you have in mind, now that you've gone through your perfect day, you've gone through what it is that you want to do when you get the finances to make it happen, we are now getting into your SMART goals, right? So creating goals for yourself. So anyone familiar with the SMART goals acronym? You know that, right? Okay, good. Well, we have it here on your paper, right? So we do have a sheet for you guys to be able to go and just write your goals down. But we're quickly going to go over what it means to have SMART goals, right? And how to create them. But the first thing that I want to start with, as we were talking about during the love session, right? The first thing that you want to ask yourself why, when you're creating your goals, is why. Ask yourself why. Why am I doing this? Why do I want this? You know, those are the things, as she said, that keeps the vision alive. The things that are going to keep you going. So you have to sometimes, when you're looking at it, remember your why. So that when the obstacle comes, when you have to make the sacrifices, when the commitment is more than the passion that day, why am I doing it? Why do I feel so passionate about this? Why do I need to see this happen in life? So that you start to understand, okay, now that I'm tied to it, even emotionally and everything else, you can continue to say, these goals are important to me and I'm going to make them happen. Okay. And so even moving forward from there, SMART goals, I know we said we know them, but just quickly going to go over them. S is for specific. So that means you want to make it clear and include details. M is for measurable, meaning can you track your progress towards that goal? A is for attainable or achievable. So you want to aim high, but not too high, right? A lot of times we got these goals and we're like, we're going to make this happen. Not to say that it's impossible, it can't happen, but you just want to be pretty realistic with yourself at the time. And be like, okay, you know what can I really do in this moment? And can I really make it happen around this time? Relevant, meaning more than likely it's aligned, right? So is it relatable or does it interfere with your other goals? You don't just have one goal in life, we have multiple goals for ourselves, right? I was looking at something and they're saying it's about like 7 different areas when you're making goals, especially for us in the new year with the vision boards, when you're making goals that you want to consider. There's your personal life, right? The physical, so that you're working out, your appearance, how you're going out, the spiritual, your relationship with God or however you may be, right? Things like that for yourself, your inner being, financial goals, right? Things like that, your professional goals. There's multiple realms in your life of where you want to create goals and start to think about it. How can I have some of these goals start to align with one another? That as I'm pursuing one goal, it's not interfering with me and drawing away from my other goals, right? And then also time bound. So making sure you set a deadline, which is also a part of even tracking it, right? But you don't just put a goal out there and then say when it happens, and then, because then you're not probably really gonna move on it. But when you put a time to it, it sets a little bit of pressure on you to be like, okay, you know what, I have this much time to make it happen, and that's where I'm gonna move. So this space is for you guys to write your goals, short-term goals, long-term goals, right? So short-term goals are usually 12 months or less. Your long-term goals is usually over a year. And once again, everything personal to you all on your own. I want you guys to write it down, but just for some examples on how you guys can get the SMART goal format in your own way. Put some goals here, for example. So the first one here says, DreamClouds will hire a social media marketing intern by May of 2023. Short-term goal, right? I plan for that to happen in a few months. It's definitely specific because I even named the kind of intern that I want. Talking about time bound, right? We have by May 2023. What else? Measurable. It's definitely measurable because as I'm making it happen, I may be tracking progress to, okay, Have I put an ad out there to be able to make it happen? Okay, now I'm doing interviews, right? So you start to see yourself getting closer to making it happen. I'm networking with people that I need who are interested in the position, whatever the case may be. Attainable, that's definitely attainable, as long as you know business funds are coming in, that means I can be able to fund an intern and continue to move with that. And relevant. It's definitely relevant because it's needed for the success of my business, right? So we then begin to align with saying, okay, this is something that's worth doing. And then once mentioned, short-term goal, because it's a few months. And then the last one I wrote here is, in 2025, DreamClouds will create another stream of income through the LVP app by reaching 100 subscribed members within the year of the launch. Very, very, very specific, right? I talk about how many members I'm looking in, with the time being, not only do I say within 2025, while also giving myself a year within the launch on how we're gonna be able to actually attain those members, whatever case may be. 100 can be a large goal because it's a new app, I'm not that known, but then again, it's also very feasible. So I'm not saying, oh, as soon as I launch it, I'm gonna have 500 subscribers out there paying. No, that's not true. But I'm gonna reach for 100 because I wanna aim high, but I also wanna make it realistic for myself, right? And then relevant, once again, it goes back to the success of DreamClouds, so you think about it that way. Many of us, right, property investments, saying that's always been on my list of goals, saying by a certain time, I'm gonna invest in property, I'm gonna be a homeowner. That's something that you can measure, with the time to it, you know, you start saving your money so you can track the progress that's going towards it, et cetera, et cetera. And is it relevant? Of course, if it's something that, you know, is an aspiration for yourself, and you realize, hey, this is my life, this is my career, whatever the case may be, and it's not gonna interfere with my other goals, you wanna move on it, okay? Next slide, please. Oh, go ahead.
Cause I know we're in time, so just look, one thing, when you talk about the whys, I know Janell was speaking about that. One thing that you really wanna do is just dig deeper. Something I know that usually we just stop at that first why and just let it be. But you know, when you find that answer to that why, you wanna ask yourself why again. Like for instance, why do I wanna dance? Because I wanna help people express themselves, or I wanna, you know, express myself through it. Why do you wanna express yourself? You know, so then you continue to ask yourself. And I think even when it comes to like therapy and all these things, they help us find out those whys and ask and dig deeper into these questions. So you can do that for yourself too. Just continue to ask why, okay? Why do I wanna make money? Because I wanna set my family up. Why? Like, and you know, it might get a little tedious at one point, like, well, I don't wanna keep doing this, but continue to just ask yourself why, so you really stand firm in your understanding and your belief of what you're doing.
Absolutely, that's really good. I do agree, because even sitting in one of my classes right now, and we talked about that, and there's this exercise, class of creativity unleashed, right? And we think about design processes and et cetera, et cetera. So the why question is very important for many things, but they do that when working in a group. They say, you know, it might seem annoying sometimes that you continue to do it, but you want to ask like at least 5 times. You want to try to get to 5 whys. And then you're really, really starting to pinpoint on, okay, this is the reason, this concept. You can continue to ask yourself more. But when you think about it, like I always say, like I think about kids when they hit that age, right? Where it's like, well, why? 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 And it might seem annoying, but like, I mean, then with kids, like, because I said so, so it's a little different. But with ourselves, we don't work it out, right? It's like, okay, let's really, like she said, it might be challenging to find that answer, but the answer is important. And then what it's going to do, as we continue to say, is keep that vision alive and give you purpose and passion behind it to continue to want to pursue. All right. So this is us ending our vision session, but just really quickly on the last bit of notes, ways that you can keep your vision alive. I mean, usually during this workshop, we switched it up, but our activity is tends to be creating a vision board, right? So that's one way we keep our vision alive, is making a vision board. Other ways that we can do it is an action plan. So I really like action plans as a career coach. It's something to say that you take each one of your goals and then you write down, you know, what are the actions you're taking to actually make that happen. You write down the goal, 3 to 5 actions you might need to do to make that goal happen, and then you're setting deadlines on it, and then you're also giving yourself space on that action plan to track it. So what have you gotten done so far? What did you not get done? And it just helps you to continue to look back and say, okay, you know what? Once again, it's all about tracking your progress. So this is one way of doing so. Other things that you can have, your daily reminders in your notes. So sometimes, you know, we write in our journal. Some of us, like, I mean, I got affirmations in my phone sometimes, like, you know, you might follow me on Instagram, right? daily affirmations. I have a daily affirmations board on my wall. I'm that person, right? Like you go in my room, you'll see multiple things all over my wall. It's gonna be the vision board there, it's gonna be the affirmations there, it's gonna be everything that's gonna keep it alive. So I can just continue to have vision over sight. Sometimes you need to say, I can't look at what I'm looking at right now, but I'm gonna look at this so I can see the vision ahead. And the vision boards, that's why we usually do it. We love that for that, right? Affirmations, as we continue to say, continuing to speak it into the atmosphere, manifest it for yourself and whatever the case may be. And then also lastly, make a public declaration. So I was almost pushing to say that we were gonna do that today, but we're not. But I like a public declaration because it holds you accountable, right? Accountability is huge. That's something that, like, I'm always gonna go get an accountability partner. It's in my goals to work out. I got the goal weight I wanna hit, right? I'm trying to good. I wanna get a little thicker, whatever the case may be. It's like, but let's be honest, our routines right now, once I'm there, it's like, okay, this is cool. But really the hard part is me getting there. Once I'm at the gym, you don't gotta tell me nothing. I'm going full force, I'm going hard. But I'm gonna need an accountability partner to get me to the gym, right? That's where Joy comes in. She's already in her mind, she's like, look, she's already put it. I know my vision for dance. I know that I need this. That's her why. Why am I going to the gym right now? Because dance, I gotta get ready. I gotta do it, right? She's passionate about it. So for me, it's like, okay, then I'm gonna, as we were mentioning, surrounding yourself with people that you need, right? I'm gonna make sure I let Joy know what my goals are for working out, how I'm gonna try to accomplish it. And this way now she's holding me accountable on it. Vice versa, she had business goals. She might be like, yeah, this is what I'm gonna do, and then release my book. Right? So for me, it's like, okay, you're holding me accountable on my working out goals, so I'm gonna make sure I'm holding you accountable on your business goals. That's something, right? Using each other for their strengths. So that's how we do it. We see each other's strengths and we're like, okay, then let's bounce off each other, hold each other accountable. So we make a public declaration. We don't just do vision boards, but our family every year, we sit together, we do our vision boards, and then we present our vision boards to everyone. This way it's saying, you know what, I'm putting that, one, that's affirmations, right? You're manifesting it still, but then you're also saying, you know what, I know now I'm putting myself in a group of people, we're gonna come check on me and make sure I'm doing what I need to do to make those goals happen, okay? So that is the end of our vision session. Yes, we want to thank our co-host Joy once again. This was a great session, and I hope you really guys really have some clear vision here, right? Each activity that we're doing today is really supposed to prepare you to walk out and be ready with a set plan to say, hey, you know what? I know what it is I want to do now in life. I know to prioritize my goals, what I want to focus on right now in this season, and here's how I'm going to do it. Here's my plan. So as we move forward,